Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Marie Yambo as usual. Our social media platforms at Marie Yambo at KBC on X, KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook. Now, sports physiotherapists play a pivotal role in the world of athletics, serving as the unsung heroes behind an athlete's peak performance and swift recovery. Now, with their expertise in injury prevention, rehabilitation, and optimizing physical well-being, these professionals are the backbone of maintaining an athlete's health and ensuring they stay in top form to excel in their respective sports. I'm not talking about anybody else other than sports physiotherapists. And today we speak to Dagdel Ogutu, who is a sports physiotherapist. Welcome to the program, Dagdel. This is your health. So first and foremost, what does a sports physiotherapist do?
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Dagdel Ogutu, a physiotherapist working at the Skyhopes Therapeutic Services, where we offer a wide range of top quality therapeutic services. So speaking on sports physiotherapy, the major role of a sports physiotherapist is channeled towards assessment, intervention, and goal setting from the time of injury for athletes throughout treatment and setting goal setting for the treatment plans and evaluation of the treatments, reviews, as well as rehabilitation geared towards bringing them back to the field in a strongest way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you say, and it's kind of obvious, I'm asking an obvious question, how then is the role of a sports physiotherapist, for that matter, important to an athlete?
Physiotherapy in sports is very important because it brings back the athletes to their peak and regain strength after an injury. It doesn't matter which type of injury they have been suffered, but it really helps them come back to their normal activity in the field and as well as improve their performance in sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are those some of the types of injuries that you've come across that athletes do suffer while in the field?
Yeah, most common types of injuries could be dislocations, fractures, sprains, and strains. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you go about it as a physiotherapist in terms of treatment of this kind of injuries?
The most important aspect of the treatment of those injuries is the first approach, because we always like our athletes not to sustain further injuries. So it's by minimizing any further injuries that has resulted from the initial injury of an athlete. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. By maybe, if taking an example, maybe a dislocation, we always and it's always advisable that we immobilize that particular joint so that it prevents further injuries, because when a certain joint has dislocated, the weight bearing of taking an example of a foot, maybe dislocated ankle. So if we mobilize that particular joint, it will really help that athlete to prevent any further injury that could have resulted from bearing the weight on that particular leg, as well as pain control and management.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you're speaking to a situation whereby now the athlete is off the field or off the tracks, where they could be performing, yeah, for them to be immobilized. Yeah. But what is the role of a sports physiotherapist during a game? Because for us who've watched maybe football, and especially football, I've not seen that in the runners. Sometimes something happens, an injury. Is that a part of is that a role that a sports physiotherapist still plays in the field?
Well, it's a very crucial role for a sports physiotherapist because it's done through the assessment of the environment, where they may be taking an example of a footballer you've given me. The field has to be assessed to avoid and prevent any risk of an injury. So you assess the field well, know and find out if there is any other obstacle that could result to any injury that could put a player in a risk of an injury. And also, the sports gears are very important. You should always ascertain that the player is in the respective and very appropriate sports gears, like the shoes and the clothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So a sports physiotherapist is not only waiting for the injury to happen and then you're brought into the facility. No. So you still go to the field to assess? Do the clubs, have to bring the sportswear for the physiotherapist to assess?
Yeah.
So when it comes to, because it's obvious if you're going to the field, maybe you can explain what exactly you look out for. But I'm wondering, when it comes to the clothing of an athlete, what would you as a physiotherapist be looking at?
It's very important, and that's a very important aspect in injury prevention, because we are there to minimize injuries as much as possible. So through ascertaining the sportswear and gears, it's always important to ensure the players and the athletes put on the right and fitting sports gears, mostly the shoes. And also in prevention of injuries, there is always what we say we do as tapping. Mm-hmm. Tapping, we usually do it for prevention of injuries and stabilization of different joints. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what about in the field? You also talked about ensuring, what exactly would you be looking for?
In the field, it's very important to ensure that the field is safe for the players, because in case of any obstacle, like maybe taking an example of a stone that's not supposed to be in a field, should be removed. Any other unwanted materials in the field before any game or before any athletics activity, it should be removed to make sure the field and the environment is very safe for the players, and that one really helps in injury prevention to the highest percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is in as far as the prevention is concerned.
Yeah, sure.
But I also have this question where muscle pull. We see athletes sometimes have that problem in the field. What causes it? And how does that, is it the spray that they normally put on them? How does that work?
Okay, for the cases of muscle pull, it's always important as sports physiotherapists to ensure that before any game or before any activity, it's very good and very crucial for the players and the participants to warm up before the activity. That one prepares the body and the muscles for a certain activity, and it's also psychological. So you find that when the players are well prepared through warm-up, it reduces the risk of muscle pulls during the activity or the sporting activity. And after an activity, it's always good to cool down. There's some exercises they will advise them for cool down purposes, so that the muscles can regain the oxygen concentration and the energy they have been using, and also it's very important for the body to cool down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying that when we see someone with a muscle pull, chances are very high that probably they did not warm up enough?
Yeah.
Or is there a case where you can actually warm up enough but still suffer some?
For the cases of muscle pull, I can say chances are maybe they did not warm up well. And also it's something that might be physiological, because during the activity maybe the brain might send unequal impulses to the or nerve impulses to the different muscles that perform different movements. Yeah.
Okay. Now, apart from just physiotherapy, and you'll be demonstrating to us some of the, exercises that you recommend depending on what injury somebody has, incurred or something of that sort. How important is nutrition in the prevention of injuries?
Yeah, nutrition is a key and a very important aspect in sports, because for different activities the body needs energy. So it's always important to advise the players and the team managers to put their players on the appropriate nutritional foods so that their body can have enough energy to sustain an activity for some time. Though having good nutrition and eating well is important to the athletes and the players, the right time to eat before the game or the activity is always important and considered, and after and during. So we always advise the players and the team managers to have appropriate foods for appropriate timing before, during, and after the games and the activity.
Interesting, because as you're talking about nutrition, I'm just wondering, so are you saying that an athlete can eat, can I say, at the wrong time, and that can lead to I don't know if to say discomfort or an injury?
Yeah, sure.
Whether before or during? Maybe you could just give an example.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very important on timings before the activity, that engaging a specific activity or a game. Eating at the right time is very important to the.
So the right time would be what? Say before a game. What would be the right time to eat?
I can say, it's very important not to eat immediately then you go to the game, because it causes some discomfort and it reduces the productivity of a player in the performance. Okay. Yeah. So it's always advisable to eat some hours, at a maximum of 2 hours before the 1.5 hours before the actual initial activity. And
what kind of foods would you then say someone is supposed to eat just before the activity?
Because these players need energy, so they have to take foods that are rich in energy. That's energy-giving foods.
So carbohydrates. Something of that sort. And what about when it comes to recovery? What kind of foods should an athlete eat?
On recovery, it's very important to consider proteins, because proteins play a key role in tissue repair and bodybuilding. So during the recovery stages of an injury, it's always advisable and it's very important for players. In as much as they take other food substances, they should also consider having proteins in their diet. Yeah.
And just before I forget, there is also the issue of overtraining. How dangerous is that, and to causing injuries for an athlete? And even as you answer the issue of overtraining, what are some of the signs that an athlete should look out for and realize that there's something wrong and they don't need to push themselves too much?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, overtraining also is very dangerous, and I would say it's not appropriate for players, because it exhausts the energy that player is having. Training is always and it's very important to be done adequately, not overtraining the
And overtraining would mean what? For instance, I go to the gym in the morning, say 5 o'clock, I hit the treadmill, and then in the afternoon, I'm lifting weights. Maybe in the evening, would you consider that overtraining?
Overtraining. Training is very important, but overtraining,
Yeah.
if you want to know that somebody has overtrained, you will gauge from the following the next activity from the previous day. If you are not able to do that activity that you did yesterday, and you want to do it today, but you are not in that position, you are incapacitated in doing that activity, it means that your body is exhausted, the muscles are exhausted, meaning you overtrained the previous day. So overtraining reduces the performance of a player and an athlete.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about in as far as sports physiotherapy is concerned, and just an athlete maintaining their top shape in as far as the performance is concerned. But time may not allow us to delve so much into certain issues, but I'm just wondering, what are some of those signs, like I said, that somebody should look out for in terms of, that could be dangerous to them? Yeah.
A major sign that one should look up to is pain. When you are in pain, you cannot do any activity, any given sporting activity. That means that there is something wrong. Maybe, and for measuring on the sports, it's all about musculoskeletal. Muscles and bones, they form joints. So any form of muscle pain, joint pains, is a really indicator that there's something wrong with an athlete or a player. Mainly could be because of an overuse injury. You've been sustaining an injury and you don't even realize it. Then it becomes chronic. So you'll find that sometimes you are feeling pain when you're doing an activity, or when you are preparing for an activity, there are certain pain you are feeling. Yeah. So pain for muscles and joints is a very key indicator that there's something wrong with the player. And that one reduces functionality of different joints and muscles, thus reducing the performance of a player.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not just me, but I think the general public would want to just benefit from that information of how to take care of certain injuries. You find like sprains are, can I say, a bit common, not just for athletes, but for a common person.
Yeah, sure.
How should somebody handle such? Because if your leg is broken or your bone, that one you cannot handle at home.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that a sprain can be handled effectively at home. But people tend to make mistakes when they sprain whichever part of the body. Maybe they'll go massaging it or tying a bandage around it. How would you advise as a sports physiotherapist for people to handle such cases?
For cases like strains and sprains, sprains are for joints, and strains are for muscles, and strains for joints. Yeah. So in case of such cases, it's always advisable that you rest that particular part. And massaging, without knowing whatever you are really doing, can really put you at a risk of doing more harm to yourself. But for helping the public and the people out there, in such cases, it's always advisable you cool down that particular place because of the inflammatory responses that occur at that place. So if you want to achieve that cooling before you rest, before you do any other thing, it's always advisable you apply ice.
You can apply ice on that
to cool, so that it reduces the inflammatory responses to that particular place. Then after that is when you can offer support to that particular place of injury by bandaging, could be taping. Yeah.
But definitely you need to see a doctor because you
then
cannot
after
diagnose, yes.
Yeah, after that is when you seek medical attention for further intervention. Yeah.
Now, last but not least, and maybe in just briefly, how has technology improved the work of physiotherapy in terms of even prevention and treatment of injuries?
Well, for technology, I can say it has done much in the improvement of performance of physiotherapy, majorly in sports. There are new equipments that are technologically functioning in assessing, management, and rehabilitation of some sports injuries, majorly in pain management, muscle re-education and stimulation for those who have suffered weaknesses as a complication of sports injuries, nerve stimulation, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. for that information. I know you will be also demonstrating to us, in a few, some of the, exercises that you would advise people, or at least what you do within the profession as far as physiotherapy and rehabilitation is concerned.
Before the treatment, we need to set some aspects on the manual. So for instance, we are using ultrasound therapy. So we click on ultrasound, then we go to list. List is where we want to treat. So on the right side of the monitor, you'll find the body parts you want to treat. So for instance, we are treating the wrist and hand. So you click on the wrist, and because it's pain that has been there over time, we just take it as chronic analgesia. So we click on chronic analgesia, then we set our time. It's always a maximum of 15 minutes treatment. Then we set the intensity. The intensity should start at its lower level, because you cannot start on a high intensity because of patient's tolerance. So from there, we choose on the frequency. For us, for instance, I'm choosing a frequency of 3, then duty factor of 100%. So now here our machine is ready for treatment, and before you know that it's ready for treatment, you see it blinking. So you cannot apply it on a client directly without using this gel. So we apply this one. It's just called a coupling media for ultrasound treatment. So when you apply it, it's ready for treatment. Then you click start. You see it blinking, ready for treatment. So you just apply on the area of the treatment in circular motions. So this one is a deep heating modality, and it's very contraindicated for patients maybe who have cancer and maybe they have implants. Before you start using it, you should inquire medical history about the client. When he has the implants, maybe metals like screws, it might cause burns to them from the internal side. So you just use it, you do it in circular motions. And depending on patient's tolerance, you can adjust the intensity. You adjust the intensity as you continue the treatment. Then you should be inquiring how the patient is feeling. If in case of any discomfort, you just stop. Because it's a heating modality, you cannot use it when the patient just come from the field immediately. So it penetrates deeper into the tissues, the structures around that area. So by doing this, we want to achieve relaxation of the structures so that we can achieve pain management. Yeah.
Back at home, we want to say thank you so much for your time and for taking time to watch this particular program. We hope that you learned one or two in as far as sports physiotherapy is concerned, and generally how to maintain good health if you are a sports enthusiast, or may I say an exercise enthusiast. So thank you once again. My name is Marie Yambo. We hope to see you again next time.